A small boy walked in beside a tired woman. Small boy walked in beside a tired woman holding a folder too tightly. He wasn't crying. He wasn't scared. He walked like he already understood something nobody else in the room did. Judge Harold Whitaker watched from above, eyes sharp beneath gray brows. "Bring the child forward," he said. The clerk nodded. The boy stepped toward the stand. The room felt larger around him, rows of polished wood, whispers floating like dust, reporters pretending not to stare. "Name?" the judge asked. "Marcus Reed." His voice was calm, too calm. The judge tilted his head. "How old are you, Marcus?" 10. A murmur passed through the gallery. 10-year-olds weren't usually allowed to speak directly in hearings like this. But this case had become unusual before it even began. The file in front of the judge was thick, too thick for a routine custody reassignment. The judge glanced down, then back at Marcus. "You understand why you're here?" Marcus nodded. "Yes, sir." "And you understand that decisions made here are serious?" "Yes, sir." The judge leaned forward. "You refused placement with the assigned foster family. That is correct?" "Yes." "And you understand that refusal complicates matters?" Marcus nodded again. Silence settled. The judge expected hesitation, fear, something childlike. Instead, he saw certainty. It unsettled him more than defiance would have. "Why did you refuse?" he asked. Marcus hesitated, not because he didn't know, because he was choosing words carefully. "Because the report you read is incomplete." The courtroom stilled. The judge blinked once. "What did you say?" Marcus met his gaze. "The report is incomplete." The attorney beside Marcus shifted nervously. "Your Honor," she began, "perhaps we should—" The judge raised a hand. "No. Let him speak." He looked back at Marcus. "What do you mean incomplete?" Marcus nodded toward the file. "There's an evaluation attached after page 13. It says the placement already failed 2 children before me." The clerk flipped pages quickly. Paper rustled. The judge frowned. He hadn't noticed that section. Not yet. "Where did you learn to read case documents like this?" the judge asked. "My dad taught me." The air changed. The judge's pen stopped moving. "Your father is listed as deceased," he said carefully. Marcus nodded. "Yes, sir." "So how did he teach you?" "He worked here," Marcus said quietly. Silence stretched. The judge's expression shifted slightly. "What was his name?" "Daniel Reed." The name hit harder than expected. Something old stirred behind the judge's eyes. Memory. Uncomfortable memory. Daniel Reed, public defender, persistent, annoying, passionate. The man who once stood in this very courtroom accusing the system of moving too fast. The man whose complaints had been dismissed. The man who disappeared from practice soon after. The judge swallowed. "Continue," he said. Marcus nodded. "He said courts make mistakes when people stop paying attention." The judge's jaw tightened. "Are you suggesting this court made a mistake?" Marcus paused, then answered simply, "I'm saying you didn't read everything yet." The honesty landed heavier than accusation. The judge flipped through the file. Page 14. There it was. Psychological evaluation, red flags, placement risk factors. His chest tightened slightly. The courtroom waited. The caseworker shifted uncomfortably. "That document was submitted late," she said quickly. Marcus shook his head. "It was submitted 2 weeks ago." The clerk checked timestamps. Confirmed. A ripple moved through the room. The judge felt heat rise behind his collar. He disliked surprises, especially public ones. "Marcus," he said slowly, "this court appreciates diligence, but decisions require professional interpretation." "Yes, sir? But you're not qualified to—" "I know," Marcus said gently. "I just read." The simplicity of it made the room feel smaller. The judge exhaled slowly. He wasn't angry. Not yet. But something inside him resisted the shift happening before everyone's eyes. Authority should guide. Authority should not be corrected by a child. He turned toward the caseworker. Why was this evaluation not highlighted during initial review? She hesitated. I assumed it would be considered during placement confirmation. The judge's gaze hardened. Assumed. I hated that word. Marcus stood quietly, hands still, eyes steady. Not smug, not challenging, just present. And somehow, that presence felt heavier than shouting would have. The judge closed the file slowly. Court will take a brief recess. The gavel struck. People rose. Whispers burst immediately. Reporters leaned toward each other. The judge walked into chambers alone, closed the door, sat down heavily. He reopened the file, read the evaluation again, carefully, fully. Each line felt sharper now. Details he had skimmed before stood out like warnings. He leaned back, exhaled. For the first time that morning, uncertainty entered. He remembered Daniel Reed standing where Marcus stood now, arguing, insisting, frustrating. And maybe, right. The thought unsettled him. Outside, Marcus sat quietly beside his mother. She squeezed his hand. You did good, she whispered. He nodded. I just told the truth. When court resumed, the room felt different. Expectation hung in the air. The judge returned, sat slowly, looked at Marcus again, this time longer. I have reviewed the additional evaluation, he said. The courtroom held its breath. And I acknowledge it should have been examined before preliminary approval. Gasps. The caseworker stiffened. Marcus didn't react. He only listened. I am suspending the placement order pending full review. Whispers exploded. The judge raised his hand for silence. This court will reconvene after independent evaluation. He paused, then looked directly at Marcus. You were correct to raise the issue. The words landed heavily, not loudly, but permanently. The hearing ended. People filed out slowly. Outside, reporters gathered. Marcus, how did you know? He shrugged slightly. My dad said, read everything. He looked back toward the courtroom doors. They made a big mistake. And somewhere inside the building, Judge Whitaker sat alone, realizing something harder than error. Not that he had made a mistake, but that he almost made the same one twice, and the smallest voice in the room had stopped him.